Dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is what you get when you combine cocoa mass, cocoa butter, sugar, and nothing else. There's no milk, no additives, and unlike every other chocolate type on this list, no modification to the bean's natural composition. What you're tasting is essentially the bean itself, shaped by how it was grown, fermented, roasted, and nothing more. When European colonizers first brought cacao back from the Americas in the 16th century and began turning it into solid bars, dark chocolate was essentially all that existed. Milk wasn't introduced until 2 centuries later. So, in a sense, everything else came after dark chocolate. It's the original. To carry the label of dark chocolate today, regulatory bodies demand a minimum of 50% cacao solids, with elite variations climbing all the way to 99%. A bar labeled 70% means 70% of the product comes from cacao that includes both the cocoa solids and the cocoa butter. The remaining 30% is sugar. Two bars can both say 70% and taste completely different depending on the variety of bean, the country it was grown in, and how they were processed. Cacao beans are highly sensitive to their surroundings, meaning a bar can naturally taste like raspberries, tobacco, or roasted wood. These distinct flavors depend entirely on the soil quality and rainfall of the specific farm where the trees were grown and require no artificial flavor additions whatsoever. Milk chocolate. Milk chocolate is dark chocolate with either milk solids, milk powder, or condensed milk blended into the mix. That's what makes it lighter in color, softer in texture, and noticeably sweeter. It's also, by a wide margin, the most consumed type of chocolate on the planet. It was invented in 1875 in Vevey, Switzerland, by a chocolatier named Daniel Peter. He'd spent years trying to get milk to mix with chocolate. The problem was that milk's water content caused the chocolate mixture to separate and spoil. His neighbor happened to be Henri Nestlé, who had just developed a condensed milk process. That turned out to be the missing piece. That invention didn't just create a new type of chocolate, it launched the entire mass-market confectionery industry. Milka, Cadbury Dairy Milk, the Hershey bar. All of them are variations of what Peter figured out in a small Swiss factory in the 1870s. Milk chocolate is what made chocolate affordable, scalable, and global. American and European milk chocolate taste noticeably different, and not just because of branding. Hershey's, like some other American producers, uses a milk treatment process that creates a slightly tangy, almost sour note in the finished bar. White chocolate. White chocolate contains zero cocoa solids. What it does have is cocoa butter, which is the fat extracted from the cacao bean, combined with sugar, milk powder, and usually vanilla. The result is that pale ivory color and a flavor that's creamy and sweet with no real chocolate depth to it. Nestle launched it commercially in 1936, originally as a children's product. Whether white chocolate is real chocolate is genuinely a legal question, as much as a culinary one. Countries that require cocoa solids in their definition of chocolate technically don't recognize it as chocolate at all. White chocolate goes rancid faster than dark or milk because the cocoa butter oxidizes without the protective compounds found in cocoa solids. If yours has turned yellow or smells vaguely cheesy, that's the cocoa butter turning rancid. Ruby chocolate. Ruby chocolate is the newest officially recognized type. It's naturally pink, and it has a fruity, slightly tart taste that doesn't resemble any other chocolate. The color and the flavor both come from the bean itself. Barry Callebaut, a Belgian-Swiss cocoa company, unveiled it in September 2017 at a private event in Shanghai. The development reportedly started as far back as 2004, more than a decade of research and development for a single new product category. Before Ruby, the last time a genuinely new type of chocolate was introduced was when Nestlé launched white chocolate in the 1930s. The vibrant pink color and refreshing tartness comes from using unfermented or minimally fermented cocoa beans grown under distinct environmental conditions in Ecuador, Brazil, and the Ivory Coast that are then treated with citric acid. Some critics in the industry say that Ruby chocolate is more of a marketing category than a genuine innovation in cacao. The flavor profile sits closer to white chocolate with a sour, fruity edge than to any traditional chocolate type. Blonde or caramelized white chocolate. Blonde chocolate, also called caramelized white chocolate or dulce chocolate, is what happens when white chocolate is slowly and deliberately overheated until the sugars and milk solids caramelize. The result is a deep golden brown color and a flavor that moves entirely away from white chocolate into something closer to butterscotch, toffee, and toasted milk. This entire category was discovered completely by accident in 2006 by a French pastry chef named Frédéric Bao. During a live culinary demonstration, Bao left a batch of traditional white chocolate sitting unattended inside a heated water bath known as a bain-marie for nearly half a day. He came back to find it had changed color, tasted it out of curiosity, and realized it was something entirely different. The flavor depends heavily on timing and temperature. Too little heat and it stays white chocolate. Too much and it burns. The window for that specific caramelized profile is narrow. Blonde chocolate still doesn't have a universal classification. Some treat it as a subcategory of white chocolate. Others argue that caramelization fundamentally changes the chemical composition enough to make it its own thing.
Modica chocolate. Classic Modica chocolate contains just two ingredients, cocoa mass and sugar. It's a highly rustic, completely unrefined Italian chocolate, known for its dark appearance, intense aroma, and a characteristically grainy, abrasive texture that crumbles when handled. It is made using a cold process method, which is its defining characteristic, because it completely bypasses the modern industrial processes of conching and refining. Instead of the smooth, glossy finish most people associate with chocolate, Modica is dry, crumbly, and slightly gritty. The sugar is still crystalline. You can actually feel it on your tongue. Traditional Modica chocolate completely shuns modern flavor additives like corn syrup or artificial vanilla, and uses only raw, historic enhancements like whole cinnamon, ground chili peppers, or local citrus peel, resulting in a bar that mimics the exact flavor profile consumed by ancient Mesoamerican royalty. In 2018, Modica chocolate became the first chocolate product in Europe to receive protected geographical indication status from the EU. That means it can only be called Cioccolato di Modica if it's produced in the municipality of Modica itself, following the traditional cold process method. No other chocolate in Europe has this designation.
Single origin chocolate. Single origin chocolate is made using cacao sourced from one specific place, sometimes a country, sometimes a region, sometimes a single farm. The whole idea is traceability. You know exactly where the beans came from, and the flavor of the bar reflects that location directly. Actually, chocolatiers began applying the same logic that wine producers had used for decades. This meticulous approach treats the cacao harvest exactly like fine wine, putting a massive emphasis on how the unique soil chemistry, microclimate, and regional altitude shape the final flavor. The same cacao variety grown in different soils at different altitudes in different climates produces measurably different flavors. This is called terroir, borrowed directly from wine terminology. Madagascar beans are known for bright, fruity notes reminiscent of raspberry. Beans from the volcanic soil of Vanuatu yield an intensely smoky, leathery profile. Venezuelan beans tend toward nuttier, earthier profiles. Peruvian beans often develop floral characteristics. A single origin bar is essentially a flavor document of where it came from. Gianduja, pronounced John Dahlia, is an exceptionally smooth, homogeneous, creamy Italian confection made from a highly precise blend of dark or milk chocolate and finely ground hazelnuts. It's richer, softer, and more fragrant than plain chocolate with a deep nutty finish that lingers. The creation of Gianduja was born out of extreme geopolitical necessity in Turin, Italy, during the height of the Napoleonic Wars. Napoleon's continental system had blocked trade between his territories and Britain, cutting off Turin's main supply of cacao. Faced with a genuine shortage, local chocolatiers began stretching whatever cocoa they had left by blending it with hazelnuts from the hills of Piedmont. Hazelnut was locally abundant and, when finely ground, had a texture that mixed well with chocolate mass. What started as economic improvisation became one of Italy's most celebrated confections. Nutella is Gianduja's direct industrial descendant. True luxury Gianduja relies exclusively on the highly protected Tonda Gentile della Langhe hazelnut variety. These specific nuts possess an incredibly high oil content and a delicate flavor, allowing the mixture to be ground down into a silky fluid that melts instantly upon contact with the palate.